Building computers can be expensive, so a lot of people turn to the secondhand market to get, well, cheaper components. But you know what's even cheaper than just secondhand components? Components that might be broken. Over the past week, I've been ordering components for a computer that either contain the word untested or broken in the listing. And on paper, they are so much cheaper than MSRP. But is it possible to build an entirely functional computer out of potentially broken parts? I think it's time to find out. If this works, it might be the greatest hack to PC building that I've ever come across. Hello there. All right, so we have our shipment of potentially broken, ultimately untested PC components. I feel like a kid on Christmas. This is awesome. All right, let's just jump in with the first package. I don't even remember what I bought at this point. This is a 240 gig SATA SSD from a brand that I'm not all too familiar with. M-Tech. But the listing for this one said that it was 4 parts or not working. The thing about SATA drives, they typically don't have a lot of mechanical issues because there's no drive inside of them. So I'm bullish on this one working. It looks like it might have been pulled just from a workstation or something. All right, but this next package, we have we have ourselves a sus stick of RAM. So the person who sold this said that their computer was crashing and they narrowed it down to this particular stick of RAM, which is why they wrote sus on it. But if we take a look at the pins themselves don't look that bad. I don't know, there's really not that much you can do with the RAM. And this is a nice stick of RAM too, so we'll see if that just works out of the gate. Looks like we've got ourselves a power supply. All right, so this is a Corsair CX750, so a 750 watt power supply. Is this rated anything? Give me like a bronze rating. I don't think this has any rating. Not a good sign. Okay, so this one, again, is just untested, maybe for parts, is what the listing said. Now, power supplies, I never recommend buying secondhand anyway, just because it's not really worth it to risk it. But we are risking it in this video. Don't hear any rattling, which is the first good sign. If you hear rattling, better toss it out. Honestly, the condition of all these components so far have been, on the surface level, pretty good. Next big box. Ooh, okay. So here we have a graphics card. So this is in fact an RX 570 4GB card. The listing said that it is 4 parts, not working. Sometimes it shows a display and sometimes it doesn't. All of the actual traces look pretty good. Now I did end up buying 2 graphics cards just in case one of them didn't work, and I believe that's what this next package is. This eBay seller respects their packaging. Wow, look at that. That's beautiful. That is a beautifully packaged, what I'm assuming is a graphics card. And they bubble wrapped it, even better. Hello. And just like that, we have ourselves an RTX 3080. The seller said that the card freezes whenever any load is put on the computer, which is not a good sign. My mind immediately goes to reapplying thermal paste, but beyond that, we're gonna have to pray that this thing works, you know? All right, now this one's interesting because on the surface, we have an ASRock B250 motherboard, but on the listing, it said it's 4 parts, and also they don't know what CPU's in here. So this is a true gamble, because who knows? Maybe it's an i7 7700K, maybe it's a 6700K, or maybe it's something a lot cheaper. I mean, how difficult is it to just open up a cooler and see what CPU there is? This honestly will dictate how good of a computer this could potentially be if it works. Here we go. What CPU is in our mystery bundle? It's an i5 7500. That's not really what we wanted, but we'll take it. It could have been a lot worse. I'll give you that. All right, so here we have all of our untested 4 parts, not working components. Can we turn this into a functional PC? It's time to find out. All right, now if you're a keen observer, you'll notice that I didn't break out a case yet. And that's because trying to find used cases on eBay, it's kind of a scam. Because they're so large, shipping is gonna be really expensive. You can buy cases for like 50 bucks new. So here's the plan. I'm gonna see if this works outside of the case, and then if we do end up making it work, I will find a nice home for these to live inside of. How hard could it be? It's gonna work, right? Let's start off by applying some new thermal paste to this CPU. Hey, if you want some high quality thermal paste, you know where to go. Yeasterpaste.com, baby. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and apply a smiley face as a token of good luck. This is my sentiment right now. I'm feeling very positive. And now we'll squish it down like my hopes and dreams. Oh, also for this computer, I'm not gonna turn on power until every component is plugged into it. Is that the smart thing to do? Not really. Is it the exciting thing to do? Yeah. Now it's not as common, but if you are only installing a single stick of RAM, you do wanna use this channel right here, the second left from the CPU itself, typically recommended by most motherboard manufacturers. Go ahead and press that bad boy down. It's all coming together. Spirits still high. We've installed 2 components. If I had to say right now, I'm gonna say this is gonna work out of the box. I'm just gonna go ahead and install the graphics card because I think we're ready for it. If this does work out of the box, I might just be the luckiest person alive. So the odds of that happening, pretty slim. All right, now it's time to install our graphics card, our 3080, our 10 gigabyte card. Now, I really hope this card works because it was quite a bit of money for it to potentially not work, which I'm not thrilled about. But if it does work, we're gonna be bing chillin'. Now, okay, so one thing I didn't notice was on this motherboard, we do have a broken clip. As you can see, it should look like this to actually lock in the graphics card. That's fine. It doesn't make a big deal in terms of performance. Just might be a little bit sketchier in terms of an installation, but sketchy things have not stopped us in the past. Just like that. That'll do the trick. Are we already ready to plug in power? Jeez. Oh, I'm so nervous for this. Power supplies freak me out, man. A used power supply is already sketchy enough, but one that's listed as, might be broken. I just don't want it to explode in my face, That'd be real bad. All right, so our Corsair 750 does have the perfect number of pins for our RTX 3080, which is good. All right, that's pretty straightforward. We got our motherboard plugged in, our CPU plugged in, and our graphics card plugged in. The only thing left is the SSD. All right, now there's 2 aspects of this working. The first test is to see if first of all this spins to life, right? If the CPU fan spins, if the GPU fan spins, if the RGB stick lights up. The second, the real test will be if it actually posts a signal. Place your bets. What do you guys think? Is there any chance of this working? Oh, I'm nervous. Okay, let's see if this works. All we gotta do is short out the power pins. Here goes nothing. Nothing. Uh-oh. Time to do the basic troubleshooting, see if everything is plugged in correctly. The power supply is actually plugged in, confirmed. It is set to on. Motherboard cables are plugged in. I'm not seeing any life at all, which is not a good sign. All right, well, enthusiasm just got kind of kicked down a notch. I'm gonna go ahead and troubleshoot some of this and see if we can't figure anything out. Best of luck, future me. Whoosh. Okay, now this is pretty interesting. When the power supply is turned off, right? As expected, nothing is happening. When the power supply is turned on, I don't know if you can hear this, but there's this really tiny clicking noise coming from the motherboard, which, mind you, doesn't have any mechanical parts. So that's unsettling. You hear that? It's a really subtle clicking. Something happening underneath this heatsink, I think. So let's go ahead and take that off to see what's under there. I'm starting to think this motherboard is a bit more sketchy than I initially thought. Because if the motherboard was okay, there would at least be some semblance of life in this thing. But so far we have gotten nothing. Okay, so that is just, that's just the BIOS, right? So maybe it's just trying to reset itself over and over again. See if we still hear that noise. Maybe it's not an issue, but the fact that it's happening and there's no mechanical parts there, a little weird. It turns out this motherboard might be, I might have bitten off more than I can chew with this one. There was all this weird noise coming from this South Bridge chip. Anytime your electronics are physically clicking where they shouldn't be, that's probably a telltale sign that something is wrong. So what I've done is purchase some more broken motherboards. Last time when I was shopping for motherboards, I just kind of, sorted by broken or search for untested. But this time around, I kind of specifically looked for bent pins in the hopes that I can bend them back into place. Okay, let's take a look at our first replacement. Doesn't look that bad. I'm definitely seeing a bent pin up here. Looks like these guys are a little bent. Another bent one over here. Oof, okay. I might not start with that one. There's a lot of bent pins there. We'll set that one aside and move on to replacement motherboard number 2. Moment of truth. How bent are these? Okay, I'm seeing some bent ones in this bottom left-hand corner, but that looks like to be the extent of it. Maybe another little one right there, but the rest of the pins look pretty solid. Ooh, okay, I got a good feeling about this one, but we might as well check the third replacement as well. Oh, a box in a box. Wow, now this is actually a pretty nice oh, they actually included the IO shield. How nice. This is definitely the nicest looking motherboard out of all of our replacements. MSI Tomahawk Arsenal. How many bent pins do you see here? It's like a little dirty, but are they actually bent? There's some gunk in here for sure. I don't know what it is, which is a little concerning. It looks like a pin is missing. Definitely some gunk. Man, what is this stuff? It doesn't look like thermal paste. It has a much different consistency than just thermal paste. What were they doing with this socket though if it's not thermal paste? Yeah, this bottom left corner is kind of effed. Ooh, is there a bug down here? I think that's like, ooh, that's like a little critter. Oh, that's unsettling. If I contract some weird illness, you'll know why. There's one bent pin in this bottom left-hand corner that is kind of sticking straight up, but I'm just gonna try to push it right back down without disrupting the other pins. And honestly, that might be it. That already looks so much better. And that bug got removed, so that should help. This MSI motherboard is by far the best candidate out of our new recruits. So there's definitely no way that it won't work, right? I think we're ready to see if this actually works. Okay, this is definitely an improvement over the previous motherboard. Now all of a sudden, we see the graphics card like spin to life and light up. We see the motherboard itself. You can see the little lights. Very briefly, you can see it light up red. That's a good sign. Now our CPU fan, our CPU fan is actually spinning. The power supply, I thought I heard maybe like a sharp sound from it the first time that powered on. I'm gonna try to install a different power supply to see if we can actually get this to sustain power. Yeah, okay, it definitely did not work, which is very disappointing. No, okay, so still no sustained power. In that power supply, I do trust quite a bit more. It does sort of feel like it's not even getting past the CPU check. At this point, I was beginning to lose all hope for ever getting these components to work together. This blank screen after each boot attempt was driving me crazy. That's exactly what I've been looking at for the past like 2-3 weeks. So I decided to begin testing each of these broken components individually inside of a different computer. Maybe what I should have done from the very beginning. And what I found was kind of nuts. Well, this is still going through the motions. Oh my goodness, what is that? Okay, well, it does post. It's just a little funky. Okay, graphics cards issues might be one of the coolest things ever. Granted, it's not what you would want to see, but it is pretty cool. I'm gonna plug in a keyboard just so I can see how this looks on like the Windows loading screen. All right, yeah, this is some visual distortion for sure. The potentially broken 570 turned out to be an actually broken 570, meaning that if we do want to get a computer out of all of this, our final hope remains with the 3080. Does this graphics card actually work? All right, well, it lights up in the fan spin. That's a real good sign. Can we get a signal? It's taking a bit longer than I would anticipate. That's maybe not the best sign. We are not getting a signal. That's a doozy. Although if we look at the motherboard, you can see we have error 55, which I believe is a RAM issue. Go ahead and plop this bad boy back in. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe it wasn't a GPU issue. Maybe it was just a RAM issue. And wouldn't you believe it? Desperate times calls for desperate measures, and this 3080 stepped up to the plate. Let's go. Oh, thank goodness it was a RAM issue, not a graphics card issue. Okay, this 3080 might actually work. Granted, this is just posting, right? It's not putting the graphics card under any stress whatsoever. It's a good sign though. I'm hopeful. It's not crushing. It's not crushing my hopes yet. So that's good. And honestly, this might have been the turning point for all of our good luck, because in addition to a now functional 3080, our SATA SSD was recognized. Our sus stick of RGB RAM was recognized. Heck, even our i5-7500 mystery CPU was recognized and functional. Oh, we got a post. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's a really good side. And there we go. As you can see, an Intel Core i5-7500, the 3.4 gig CPU. This thing is recognized, which means it's functional. But we're not in the clear yet, because this leaves us with now testing our sketchy power supply. I felt bad about this power supply from the very beginning. Since we know that this current iteration of this workbench functions, just gonna swap out the power supply. And with that, it's time to see if our untested power supply actually works. All right, reboot cycle. This is certainly taking a lot longer. Oh my gosh, it actually posts. I'm about to give up every single time, and then it just comes back and says, hey, you know what? We're functioning. Wow. Okay, we are not putting this under the most amount of power draw that we could if we were, say, gaming or something, but it's powering the computer. By my metrics, that means it works, at least for this experiment. That's kind of crazy. Which means we not only are able to place our CPU on the functioning side, we can also go ahead and grab our untested power supply and place it there as well. My hope of all of this working is back at an all-time high. So why don't we take one of our 3 remaining untested motherboards and throw all of these components together to see if we can get this untested PC working with one final attempt. With every single component that was listed as either broken or fully untested, will this computer, when all put together, have any chance of working? Nope, it's doing the same thing as before. God damn it. I wasn't content with the results that almost every component worked except for the motherboard. So I did the legwork and I bent back a bunch of the pins on one of the replacement motherboards that we bought from eBay. And now I've compiled all the components back onto that board. It's time for the final test. The final test. I just need an output. Come on, you can do it. If there was ever a time for a computer to work, now would be it. No HDMI signal from your device. All right, come on, one more time. Do not go quiet into that good night. Fight. We have a signal. Oh my gosh. It's actually working. No way. Oh my gosh. Holy shit. A computer with every single component either broken or untested comes together and posts. Oh my God. My mind is actually blown. I cannot believe that worked. Holy shit. I'm genuinely surprised. I was ready to give up like 100 times throughout that process. I legitimately cannot believe that this thing actually works. Oh, I have no words. Now that I know this computer works, I do want to pressure test this GPU just a little bit. It is working. Oh my gosh. And not only that, we got ourselves a legit RTX 3080. Hundreds of frames per second. It was supposed to be broken, but it's functional. And honestly, now that this computer has proven to me that it works, I feel like I needed to adjust this and put it inside of an actual case to complete the build. But previously I said that I didn't want to buy a used case on like eBay because it just doesn't seem economical to pay for that much shipping. So I did the best next thing, which was buying the very cheapest case on Amazon. This thing is quite literally $25. I think it's gonna make a great home for our little makeshift computer here. Check that out. Now, I will say it does feel very cheap. I mean, the fact that I can lift it up with one hand without straining. But for 25 bucks, I'm into this. I don't know what I expected, but it's literally just a box. There's no like back area. Hopefully my power supply fits. Oh my gosh. Okay, it just broke off by itself. And I'm also realizing I'm pretty sure we have to just break off these little PCIe covers as well. There we go. Oh, that's not going back on. This PC is not gonna look very pretty, most likely, but I think it's a nice representation of how it all came together, you know? All right, the next big challenge is gonna be trying to fit this 3080 inside of this tiny little case. Uh-oh, that might be an issue. Well, here's the current state of affairs. This graphics card may need some encouragement. I do think there's a world where if this is perfectly installed, I'm not gonna let some flimsy little metal case stand in my way of assembling this computer. I think we're gonna have to cut this case open. What's the best way to do that? All right, so there we go. It kind of worked. Well, would you look at that? All right, there you go. It's probably a good thing this case was pretty cheap because the materials made it easy to cut through. I think that's it. So now we just gotta shove this all together, close the case up, and see if this thing still works. Now, for the last piece of this setup, now that our untested / broken computer is all assembled inside of a single case, we need to finish this setup. And so, well, a couple weeks ago, I happened to walk by a television in the garbage. And of course, I took it home. I carried that thing for like a mile. But because technically it's untested, it might be broken. I think it's the perfect monitor to use in this setup. And now, despite having picked it up a couple weeks ago, I have yet to test it. Honest to God, I have not turned it on or even attempted to plug it in. And I'm assuming it has an HDMI, but if this thing works, it's gonna be freaking awesome. So let's set it up. I forgot how heavy it was. I am so excited. I'm really hoping this thing works. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. It is just the same power cable as a computer. Is that normal? Is that what normal TVs have? I don't know. Oh, wait, did I hear a click? Oh, it's so heavy. Oh my gosh, wait, I did hear a click. Oh, let's go. What the hell? It's working. Oh my God. Okay, we're in business. We're in business. Okay, now we just gotta plug in HDMI from our makeshift computer into our makeshift monitor. And if that works, I'll just be so ecstatic. The final step of the process, we shall plug in our computer into our literal trash monitor, and boom, baby! That's our PC! Let's go! No freaking way, dude. Oh my gosh. 3080 punching through at the right time. I cannot believe that this thing actually functions. I mean, despite the fact that our 3080 is literally sticking out of our case, this entire computer on paper is not supposed to work. Every single one of the components inside of this thing was untested, or someone claimed it was broken. The question is, now that we've proven that, well, this computer and this setup works, did we actually save money? Well, I'm glad you asked. I crunched some numbers. Inside of this computer, we ended up utilizing not every single component that I purchased off eBay, right? The first motherboard that I bought was a bust, and I bought like 3 more. I also bought an extra graphics card in case this 3080 didn't pan out. Same with the PCIe SSD. So if we only take the amount that I spent on every component inside and including this PC case, we come to a total of $408 for a build that contains a 3080, a 10 gig card. If you were to buy a refurbished 3080 right now, you'd probably spend closer to $400. We paid $260 for it. And remember, that's $408 for our entire build. That includes the case, the entire PC, also our monitor, our giant TV, because we found it in the garbage for free. If we take into consideration the cost of everything that I spent, because this is kind of a gamble, right? Like paying for potentially broken computer parts, you're going to end up with some actually broken computer parts at some point, which comes to a total of $533 with every single thing that I bought on eBay. So ultimately we wasted around $130, but we got a pretty decent PC. Hey, at least it's functional. We got a functional PC for $400. Was it worth risking that additional $130? I mean, for the thrill of it, yeah. Would I recommend you doing this as a feasible way to build a cheaper computer? Maybe not for the entire build, but where it makes sense, maybe worth looking at untested or potentially broken computer parts if you know your way around them, and if it happens to be a really good deal. But I think that's all I got. I honestly can't believe that this thing still works. So let me know what other kind of PC building or tech challenges you want to see me try out in the future. And with that, I've been Mr. Yeester, your tech tinkerer, and I'll catch you in the next one. Oh yeah.